metal beam was falling. Owen saw it in slow motion. 2 tons of steel breaking loose from the overhead crane, spinning as it dropped toward the floor where Lily stood, her back turned, headphones in, running quality checks on pistons that would never matter if she was dead. Owen didn't think. He ran, grabbed her jacket, pulled hard. They hit the concrete together as the beam crashed down 6 inches from where she'd been standing. The impact so loud it shook dust from the rafters and stopped every machine on the factory floor. Silence and then alarms. Owen's ears rang. His shoulder screamed. Lily was underneath him, gasping, eyes wide with shock. "You all right?" he managed. She nodded, speechless. "Good." Owen pushed himself up. Felt something warm on his forearm, looked down. A gash from wrist to elbow, deep enough to see white beneath red. "Christ, you're bleeding," someone said. A crowd formed, 50 workers staring, some at the beam, some at Owen, some at the crane operator in the cab above, frozen with his hands still on the controls. The foreman appeared, Dale Harrison, face like weathered brick, moving through the crowd with the confidence of a man who'd talked his way out of bigger problems than this. "All right, everyone back to stations. Show's over." No one moved. "I said back to work." Lily found her voice. "That beam almost killed me. The crane's supposed to be decommissioned. You said it was being replaced next month." "Equipment malfunctions happen," Dale said flatly. "That's why we have safety protocols, which you violated by standing in the drop zone." "I wasn't in the drop zone. I was at my station." Dale pointed at Owen. "And you? You've been here, what, 6 weeks? Already playing hero? That's how people get hurt." Owen felt the pressure building in his chest, the same pressure he'd felt every day for 6 weeks, watching this factory crumble. But he kept his voice level. "The crane failed. That's not her fault. I don't remember asking for your opinion, Hartley." The crowd shifted. Someone muttered agreement. Someone else took out their phone. Dale's supervisor appeared from the glass-walled office. Martin Webb, Regional Operations Director. Tie that cost more than Owen made in a week. "What happened?" Dale pointed at the beam. "Crane malfunction? Minor incident, no injuries. Hartley here overreacted and created a safety hazard by tackling Chen to the ground." Lily's mouth fell open. "He saved my life." "He created panic on the factory floor," Martin said, looking at Owen like he was a problem to solve. "Where's your hard hat?" Owen touched his head. The hard hat had come off when he'd hit the ground. It fell. "OSHA violation, that's a written warning." "You're joking," Lily said. "I don't joke about safety, Miss Chen." Martin's gaze didn't leave Owen. "And frankly, this isn't the first issue we've had with Mr. Hartley. Substandard performance, frequent bathroom breaks. And now this?" "This?" Owen's voice was quiet, dangerous. "A woman almost died. A woman was standing where she shouldn't have been, and you overreacted. Violently. He saved her life," someone shouted from the crowd. Martin's expression hardened. "Everyone back to work. Now. Or you're all written up for work stoppage." The crowd hesitated, then slowly dispersed. Lily stayed where she was, looking between Owen and Martin like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Miss Chen, your station." "This is insane." "Your station or you're suspended." Lily looked at Owen. He nodded once. She left, glancing back twice, before disappearing into the machinery. Martin turned to Dale. "Get Hartley cleaned up and bring him to my office. We need to have a conversation about his future here." Owen's arm dripped blood onto the factory floor, each drop spreading into the dust and grease like ink in water. Dale grabbed his good shoulder. "You heard him. Let's go." The first aid kit in the supervisor's office was expired. Owen wrapped his arm himself with gauze that should have been replaced 2 years ago, according to the date on the box. Dale watched from the doorway, arms crossed. "You know what your problem is, Hartley?" Owen didn't answer. "You think you're special. Think the rules don't apply to you. I think the crane shouldn't have dropped a beam. Cranes fail. That's reality. You want to work in a factory, you accept the risks. Lily could have died, but she didn't, because she got lucky, not because you're some kind of hero." The door opened. Martin Webb entered, tablet in hand. Owen Hartley, 6 weeks on the floor, multiple performance issues, and now this. He sat behind his desk. "I'm terminating your employment, effective immediately." Owen felt the words land but kept his expression neutral. "For what?" "Creating a safety hazard, violating OSHA protocols, inciting panic among workers. I stopped someone from being killed. You tackled a female employee to the ground without consent, in front of 50 witnesses, some of whom filmed it. Do you understand the liability exposure you just created?" Owen stared at him, at the perfect hair and expensive watch, and the casual certainty of a man who'd never worked a day on a factory floor in his life. "She was about to die," Owen said slowly. "Your opinion. Against company policy." Martin slid a termination slip across the desk. "Sign this and you'll receive your final paycheck. Refuse and we'll contest your unemployment claim." Owen looked at the paper, at his own name printed in neat corporate font, at the signature line waiting for him to confirm his own erasure. He thought about the 6 weeks he'd spent here, the documentation he'd gathered, the violations he'd cataloged, the evidence that would bring this whole operation down. But it wasn't complete. Not yet. 3 more facilities to investigate. 3 more sites where workers were suffering. If he revealed himself now, if he walked in as Owen Hartley, a billionaire CEO, this site would clean up overnight. And the others would hide their sins so deep they'd never be found. So he picked up the pen and signed. Dale smiled. Smart choice. "Security will escort you out," Martin said, already looking at his tablet. "Leave your badge and coveralls in the locker room." Owen stood. The gauze on his arm was already soaking through. "One more thing," Martin said as Owen reached the door. "The crane incident will be conducting an investigation. If we find evidence that you deliberately caused the malfunction to play hero, we'll press charges, civil and criminal." Owen turned slowly. "You think I sabotaged the crane? I think we'll follow the evidence." For 3 seconds, Owen considered ending it all right now, considered pulling out his phone and showing Martin Webb the ownership documents, showing him the company logo with Owen's name underneath, showing him exactly who he was firing. But Lily's face flashed in his mind, and the faces of 50 other workers who depended on this job, who couldn't afford for Owen to blow his cover before the investigation was complete. So he said nothing, just walked out. The security guard, young guy named Rahim, met Owen at the locker room. Wouldn't make eye contact. "I'm sorry, mate. This is rubbish." Owen changed in silence, left the blood-stained coveralls in a heap on the bench, put on his street clothes, jeans, hoodie, trainers with holes in them. They walked through the factory together. Workers watched from their stations. No one spoke. But Owen saw it in their eyes. Fear. that they'd be next. At the employee entrance, Rahim unlocked the gate. Heavy steel, industrial green paint flaking like dead skin. "For what it's worth," Rahim said quietly, "you did the right thing." Owen looked at him. "Then why does it feel like this?" "Because the world's broken, isn't it?" Owen stepped through the gate. It clanged shut behind him. He stood in the rain-slick car park holding a cardboard box with his boots and work gloves inside. His arm throbbed. The gauze was completely red now. His car was parked at the far end. A 15-year-old Vauxhall with a dent in the door. Owen got in, sat behind the wheel, pulled out his phone. Not the cheap one he carried at work. The other one. The encrypted one that only 3 people had the number for. He opened the calculator app, entered a 12-digit code. The screen changed. Production reports, financial statements, ownership documentation. At the top, a company logo, Hartley Industrial Holdings. Below it, CEO and primary shareholder, Owen Hartley. The factory he'd just been thrown out of. The crane that had almost killed Lily. The managers who'd blamed him for saving her life. Owen owned all of it. Every machine, every building, every contract across 17 facilities in the UK and Europe. His personal net worth exceeded £2 billion. And he'd just been fired for not wearing a hard hat. Owen closed the app, started the car, drove away from the factory where a woman had almost died, where no one would be held accountable, where tomorrow another crane would fail, or another machine would break, or another worker would get hurt, unless he stopped it. But not yet. Not until he had everything he needed. Owen looked at his reflection in the rearview mirror, at the blood seeping through the gauze on his arm, at the exhaustion in his eyes. 3 more sights, he said to himself. Just 3 more. Then this would all be over. Then he could burn it all down. The flat in Moss Side was exactly as he'd left it. Small, damp. The heating barely worked. Owen had rented it 2 months ago under a fake name, paid 6 months up front in cash, and moved in with nothing but a duffel bag. His real home was in Cheshire. 10 bedrooms, staff, a garage, with cars worth more than most people made in a lifetime. He hadn't been there in 8 weeks. He made tea with a kettle that took 5 minutes to boil. Unwrapped the gauze on his arm. The bleeding had stopped, but the cut was deep. Needed stitches. He cleaned it himself with antiseptic from a corner shop. Wrapped it in fresh bandages. Swallowed 2 paracetamol and told himself it was fine. His encrypted phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Are you okay? I saw what happened. They said you got fired. This is so wrong. L. Lily." Owen stared at the message for a long time. She'd defended him, had shouted at Martin Webb, had risked her own job. For him. For someone she thought was just another worker. His finger hovered over the keyboard. He could tell her right now. Could say, "I'm not who you think I am. I own the company. I'm going to fix everything." But then what? She'd tell someone. Word would spread. Site 077 would clean up overnight. And sites 08 through 17 would bury their secrets so deep they'd never surface. Owen typed, "I'm fine. Thanks for checking on me." The 3 dots appeared immediately. "You saved my life, and they fired you for it. I'm going to file a complaint. With OSHA, with the papers, this can't stand." Owen's chest tightened. "Don't," he typed. "It'll make things worse for you." "I don't care. It's wrong. Lily, please, just let it go. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I can't just let it go, Owen. You could have died too. That beam was 2 tons. If you'd been half a second slower. She stopped typing. Owen waited. There's a pub on Great Western Street, she finally wrote. Some of us go Fridays. You should come, please. Owen looked at the message until the screen went dark. Then he set the phone down and wondered how much longer he could keep lying to people who deserved the truth. He didn't sleep. Instead, he opened his laptop, pulled up the files from Site 07. The crane that had failed today wasn't an accident. The maintenance log showed it had been flagged for replacement 8 months ago. Budget approved. Work order submitted. But the money had never been spent. Instead, it had been redirected to executive bonuses. Martin Webb's bonus specifically, £30,000 for operational efficiency improvements. The crane that almost killed Lily had paid for Martin's new car. Owen added it to the file. Then he opened the documentation for Site 08, Birmingham Automotive Parts Warehouse. He'd spent 3 weeks there last month working night shifts. The violations there were worse. Exposed wiring, forklifts with broken brakes, workers forced to skip safety protocols to meet quotas that existed only to justify management bonuses. A man named James had broken his hand on Owen's 2nd week. The floor manager had told him to finish his shift before going to hospital. James had finished his shift. Owen had the incident report, had the manager's emails, had the budget documents showing the safety equipment that should have prevented it. All redirected, all pocketed. He moved to Site 09, Site 10, Site 11. The pattern repeated. Every facility Owen had investigated showed the same corruption, the same negligence, the same casual cruelty of managers who saw workers as numbers on a spreadsheet instead of human beings with families and futures. Owen had built this company from nothing, had started with a single factory and an algorithm for optimizing production, had expanded carefully, methodically, always focused on efficiency and growth. And somewhere along the way, he'd stopped seeing the people, had hired managers based on their ability to cut costs, had rewarded productivity without asking how it was achieved, had buried himself in spreadsheets and projections while the foundations rotted. This was his fault. Every injury, every violation, every worker ground down by a system he'd created. His fault. Owen closed the laptop, looked at his arm. The bandage was already soaking through again. He should go to hospital, should get proper care. Instead, he made more tea and planned his next move. The text came at 2 a.m. Owen was still awake, staring at the ceiling when his phone buzzed. Not the encrypted one, the cheap one. Lily again. I can't sleep. Keep thinking about today, about how close it was. Owen picked up the phone. Me too. I never thanked you properly for what you did. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You didn't hesitate. You just acted. Most people would have frozen. Owen typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, I'm just glad you're okay. The 3 dots hovered for a long time. Owen, can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you work there? At the factory. You're smart. You could do anything. The question sat heavy on the screen. Owen thought about all the answers he could give, all the lies and half-truths that would maintain the illusion. I needed to understand something, he typed. About how things really work? Did you figure it out? Yeah, I think I did. And? It's worse than I thought. Another long pause. Owen, What you did today, standing up to Martin, saving me. That took courage. Real courage. Whatever you're looking for, whatever you're trying to understand, I think you're a good person. I wanted you to know that. Owen read the message 3 times. She thought he was good. She had no idea who he was, what he'd allowed to happen, how many people had suffered because he'd been too blind or too arrogant to see what his company had become. Thanks, Lily. That means a lot. See you Friday? At the pub? Owen stared at the question. He should say no, should cut contact, should finish the investigation and disappear before anyone got too close. But he was so tired of being alone, of carrying this weight by himself. Yeah, he typed. See you Friday? He set the phone down, and finally, somehow, slept. Friday came. Owen told himself he'd stay for 1 drink, that he'd keep his distance, that this was reconnaissance, nothing more. He stayed for 4 hours. The pub was small and warm, packed with factory workers still in their coveralls. Lily was in the corner booth with 5 others. She lit up when she saw him. You came. Said I would. She made room. Owen slid in beside her. Someone bought him a pint. The conversation flowed. Complaints about management, jokes about machinery, stories about weekend plans that would never happen because everyone was too tired and too broke. They replaced you already, Lily said quietly. Kid named Danny, 16 years old, doesn't know what he's doing. I found him trying to manually override a hydraulic press yesterday. Could have lost his whole arm. Owen's jaw tightened. Did you report it? To who? Dale? Martin? They don't care. Someone has to care. Yeah, well, that someone isn't employed there anymore. She smiled, sad and small. I keep thinking about quitting. This place is killing people. Not literally, not yet, but it will. So why don't you? Because I need the job. Because my mom's sick and I'm paying her medical bills. Because rent is due in 2 weeks and I have 47 pounds in my account. She took a long drink. Because the world doesn't care if I quit. There's 100 people waiting to take my place. Owen wanted to fix it, wanted to tell her, you'll never have to worry about money again. Your mom will have the best care. You can walk away from that factory right now. But he couldn't. Not yet. I'm sorry, he said instead. Don't be. It's not your fault. But it was. Every word she said, every fear, every impossible choice between safety and survival, his fault. They stayed until closing. Walked out together into the cold Manchester night. Lily pulled her coat tighter. Where are you staying? Moss Side. That's Miles. You need a ride? I'm good. She hesitated, then stepped closer. Put her hand on his good arm. Owen? Yeah? Thank you for today. For being here. For giving a damn when no one else does. Before he could respond, she kissed his cheek. Quick and warm. Then she turned and headed toward the bus stop, leaving Owen standing in the cold with the ghost of her lips on his skin, and the weight of his lies pressing down like a physical thing. He watched until she was out of sight, then turned and walked the opposite direction, back to his empty flat, back to his investigation, back to the truth she'd never believe. Site 08 in Birmingham was worse. Owen spent 3 weeks there, working night shifts in a warehouse that processed automotive parts. Every violation he documented at Site 07 appeared here, magnified. Exposed wiring. Forklifts with broken brakes. Workers forced to skip safety protocols to meet quotas that existed only to justify executive bonuses. On his second week, James, the man who'd broken his hand, pulled Owen aside during a break. "You're documenting things, aren't you?" Owen went still. "What?" "Don't play dumb. I've seen you. Taking photos with your phone, writing things down in that little notebook you think no one notices. I don't know what you're talking about." James moved closer, lowered his voice. "I don't care who you are or who you're working for. Inspector, journalist, lawyer, I don't care. Just, when you bring the hammer down on these bastards, make sure they can't wiggle out of it. Make sure it sticks." Owen looked at the man, at his hand still wrapped in bandages, at the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. "I'll make sure," Owen said. James nodded once, then walked away. Owen stood there feeling the weight of it, the trust, the expectation, the responsibility of being the only one who could make this right. The call came on a Wednesday night. Owen was in a bedsit in Coventry reviewing files from Site 09 when his encrypted phone rang. Margaret Reese, his chief operations officer, one of only 3 people who knew what he was doing. "Owen, we have a problem." "What kind?" "A journalist, freelance. She's been investigating the company, interviewing workers. She has a source inside management." Owen sat up. "Which site?" "Manchester Site 07. She's asking questions about the crane incident, about you specifically." His blood went cold. "What does she know?" "She knows someone saved a worker's life and got fired for it. She knows management is covering something up. And she's asking why the owner of a multi-billion-pound company hasn't responded." "Has she connected me to the worker?" "Not yet, but she's close. Owen, if she publishes before you're ready, one." "Let her investigate," Owen said. "What?" "Don't interfere, don't threaten, let her do her job." "Owen, she could blow your cover, could ruin the entire investigation. Or she could help finish it." Margaret was quiet for a long moment. "You're playing with fire. I've been playing with fire for 3 months. What's a little more?" He hung up, stared at the laptop screen, at the files spread across 17 facilities, at the evidence he'd gathered piece by piece while living like a ghost. The journalist was a complication, but maybe she was also an opportunity. Maybe together they could do what he couldn't do alone. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. Lily texted him 3 days later. "Something's happening. Reporters at the factory, asking about the crane. About you. Owen, what's going on?" Owen looked at the message for a full minute. "I don't know," he typed, "but I hope they find the truth. They asked me about you, about what happened. I told them everything. I hope that's okay." "It's okay. Are you involved in this somehow? Are you the one who called them?" The question sat there, direct, trusting. Owen could lie, could deflect, could disappear completely. "No," he typed, "but I'm glad someone did." Her response took 3 minutes. "I wish you were here. We could use someone like you, someone who isn't afraid." Owen closed his eyes. "I'm not brave, Lily. I'm just angry." "Same thing sometimes." The article published on a Monday. "The Billionaire's Factory, How Hartley Industrial Holdings Exploits Workers While CEO Remains Silent." Owen read it sitting in his Cheshire house, the first time he'd been back in 3 months. The place felt like a museum, cold, empty, preserved. The journalist's name was Priya Kapoor. She'd done extraordinary work. 20 pages of evidence, interviews with dozens of workers, photographs of broken equipment and falsified reports, financial records showing executive bonuses while safety budgets were slashed, and at the center, the crane incident, Lily's near death, and a mysterious worker who'd saved her life only to be fired. Priya had even included a photo, grainy, taken from someone's phone during the incident. Owen mid-tackle, pulling Lily out of the beam's path. The caption read, "Unidentified worker risks his life while management watches." Owen's encrypted phone rang. Margaret again. "The board is in meltdown. They want a statement. Want you to do a press conference." "No." "Owen, I'll handle it my way." "When?" "Tonight." He hung up, opened his laptop, started typing. The statement went live at midnight, not through corporate channels, not through lawyers or PR firms. Owen posted it himself on a website registered under a shell company. Then sent the link to Priya Kapoor, to the BBC, to The Guardian, to every major outlet in the UK. The statement was 4 pages long. It confirmed everything in Priya's article, named every corrupt manager, detailed every violation, listed every cent that had been stolen from safety budgets to pad executive bonuses, and it announced immediate action. Every implicated manager would be fired within 48 hours. Every exploited worker would receive full back pay and compensation. Every facility would undergo independent safety audits starting immediately. All executive bonuses would be frozen pending investigation. And Owen Hartley would personally visit every site to meet with workers. The final paragraph read, "3 months ago, I went undercover in my own company because I'd lost sight of what we'd become. I worked alongside people who saved my life, who showed me kindness, who trusted me when I deserved nothing. And I watched as they suffered under a system I created and failed to supervise." The worker in the photograph, the one who saved Lily Chen's life, was me. I was that worker. I saw everything, documented everything, and I'm done hiding. This ends now, not with apologies, with action. I failed you. I built a machine and forgot there were people inside it. That stops today. The internet exploded within minutes. Owen stood outside the gate of Site 07. 6 a.m. Day shift arriving. Same factory. Same green paint flaking off the steel. But different now. News vans lined the street. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Workers approached the gates slowly, confused by the circus their workplace had become. Owen saw Lily near the front of the crowd. She stopped dead when she saw him. 50 emotions crossed her face in 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, betrayal, understanding. She walked straight up to him and slapped him. The crack echoed across the car park. The cameras went wild. "You lied to me," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet. "To all of us." Owen didn't touch his burning cheek. "I did." "Why?" "Because I needed to see the truth, and no one tells the truth to a billionaire." "So you used us for your investigation?" "I learned from you. There's a difference." "Is there?" She stepped closer. "I told you things, Owen. Personal things. I trusted you. I thought you were just someone who understood. I am someone who understands. The money doesn't change that. The money changes everything." The crowd had formed a circle around them, workers, reporters, all watching. Lily's hands were shaking. "I defended you to the journalists, told them you were good, that you cared. Was any of it real? Or were you just playing a role?" Owen met her eyes. "The night we went to the pub, you told me about your mom, about her medical bills, about having 47 pounds in your account. So I went home and couldn't sleep. because I had the power to fix that, to fix everything, and I wasn't using it. That was real. My guilt was real. My anger was real. He paused. My feelings for you were real. Lily went very still. Don't, she said quietly. Don't do that. Don't make this about feelings when you lied about everything else. I lied about my name and my money. I didn't lie about who I am. I don't even know who you are. She turned and walked into the factory. Owen stood there while the cameras kept rolling and the reporters kept shouting, and the workers filed past him with expressions ranging from gratitude to contempt to confusion. He'd done it. The truth was out. The corruption was being purged, but the cost was higher than he'd calculated, and he wasn't sure he could afford it. 3 months passed. Owen visited all 17 facilities, conducted town halls, listened to complaints, made changes, fired 32 managers, promoted 47 workers, increased wages 20% across the board, invested £60 million in equipment and safety improvements. The media called it redemption. The workers called it a start. Lily didn't call it anything because she wouldn't speak to him. Owen tried, sent messages, showed up at the factory, left notes. She ignored all of it. He told himself it was fine, that he deserved it, that the work was what mattered, not his personal feelings. But late at night, alone in his house that felt too big and too empty, he wondered if fixing a company was worth losing the one person who'd made him feel human. The text came on a Sunday morning, 4 months after the revelation. There's a community project in Moss Side, teaching factory skills to at-risk youth. They need funding. They need instructors. Interested? Yell. Owen read it 5 times. When? He typed. Thursdays, 6 p.m. Don't come as a billionaire. Just come as someone who knows how to fix things. I can do that. We'll see. The community center was small and run down, tucked between a convenience store and a betting shop. 15 teenagers sat in folding chairs looking skeptical. Lily was there setting up equipment, donated tools, salvaged machinery, blueprint paper. She looked up when Owen walked in. Didn't smile, but didn't walk away either. You came. You asked. I wasn't sure you would. I told you I would. They taught the class together. Owen showed a 17-year-old named Marcus how to read a hydraulic schematic. Lily helped a girl named Aisha troubleshoot a circuit problem. The kids didn't care about Owen's net worth or his company or the articles written about him. They just wanted to learn something that might give them a future. Afterward, Owen and Lily stood outside the center. The Manchester sky was gray and heavy. Thank you, Owen said, for letting me be part of this. Don't thank me, thank the kids. They're the ones who need it. Still, I know you didn't have to. No, I didn't. Lily turned to face him. I'm still angry at you, Owen, for lying, for putting me in a position where I didn't get to choose whether to trust you or not. I know, but I also see what you're doing. The changes, the investment. You're actually trying to fix it. Trying to. That's more than most people in your position would do. They stood in silence for a moment. I'm not ready to forgive you, Lily said quietly. I don't know if I ever will be. That's fair. But I'm willing to see who you are now, not who you were pretending to be, the real you. Owen nodded, not trusting his voice. Don't make me regret this, she said. I won't. They stood in the gray Manchester afternoon. 2 people trying to build something real from the rubble of broken trust. and for the first time in months, Owen felt something like hope. 6 months later, Owen stood outside the gate of Site 07. Same green paint, same steel, but the hinges had been oiled, the rust scraped away. The gate swung smooth and silent now. He'd come for the facility's reopening. New equipment, new safety systems, new management. Workers streamed through the gate. Clean uniforms, proper hard hats. Eyes that didn't carry quite so much fear. Lily approached from inside, clipboard in hand. She ran the site's new Worker Safety Committee, a position she'd designed herself. She stopped when she saw Owen, considered him for a moment, then did something she hadn't done. In 6 months, she smiled. Small, cautious, but real. Ready for the tour? If you are. They walked through the factory together, past new machinery, past equipment that worked, past workers who were paid fairly and treated like human beings instead of replaceable parts. Near the quality control station, the same station where Lily had almost died. A plaque hung on the wall, in memory of every worker who suffered while we looked away. Never again. Below it, a photograph. The crane incident, Owen mid-tackle, Lily being pulled to safety. The moment everything changed. You kept it, Owen said quietly. It's important to remember what things were like, so we never go back. They continued the tour. When it was over, they stood at the employee entrance. You did good here, Lily said. Really good. We did good. Couldn't have done it without you. She looked at him, really looked, like she was seeing him for the first time. Owen Hartley, still figuring out who that is. Every day. Good, don't stop. She started to leave, then paused. There's a pub on Great Western Street. Some of us still go Fridays. You should come. As Owen the billionaire or Owen the guy who used to work here? As Owen the person who's trying, that's enough. She walked back into the factory. Owen stood at the gate. The same gate he'd been thrown through 7 months ago, bleeding and fired and alone. Different now? Everything was different. He pulled up his hood, old habit, and walked to his car. Not a 15-year-old Vauxhall anymore. But not a Rolls-Royce either. Just something in between. Something real. As he drove away, he glanced back one last time at the factory, at the gate that had once represented his expulsion. Now standing open, welcoming him back, not as owner, not as savior, just as someone who learned to see, and seeing, had chosen to act. That was enough. If this story made you feel something, if you've ever been invisible, underestimated, or dismissed because of how you looked, you're not alone. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought in silence, and the strongest people are the ones nobody notices. If you'd like more stories about quiet strength and justice that doesn't need to shout, consider subscribing.